My name is Chloe. I am 27 years old, and I never thought the happiest day of my life would turn into a public nightmare in a matter of seconds. I was standing at the altar, holding the hands of the man of my dreams, feeling the lace of my white dress brush the floor. The church was silent, everyone waiting for our vows. But instead of smiling, my maid of honor stepped forward. She pulled out our phone and showed my fiancé a photo. I watched his face drop, his eyes wide with a mix of confusion and pure devastation, while she smirked at me with a cold, calculating look that told me everything was about to collapse. To understand how I ended up freezing in front of 200 guests, you need to know about Sarah. My best friend, Sarah, 27, and I had been inseparable since middle school. We promised to be each other's maid of honor when we were kids. I loved her like a sister, but there was a quiet competition I chose to ignore. Whenever I achieved something, she had a way of dimming the light. When I started dating Liam, my fiancé, a 29-year-old architect, she would say things like, "He is so quiet. Are you sure you guys connect?" I foolishly brushed it off. My older sister, Emma, 32, never bought the protective act. One afternoon, Emma said, "You need to be careful with Sarah. She looks at your life like it is something she deserves." I defended Sarah, desperately wanting to believe in her goodness. When Liam proposed during a weekend trip, I was over the moon. I called Sarah, expecting her to scream with joy. Instead, she asked, "Wow, that was fast. Are you sure you are ready?" It felt like a punch to the gut, but I asked her to be my maid of honor anyway, honoring our childhood promise. The wedding planning quickly turned into an emotional battlefield. Sarah wanted to control every detail, vetoing dresses and making me question my own body. Despite the negativity, I kept pushing forward. Around this time, I started working on a secret wedding gift for Liam. He had a fractured relationship with his older brother Noah, 31. They had a massive falling out years ago and had not spoken since. Liam mentioned how it broke his heart that Noah would not be at his wedding, so I decided to fix it, tracking Noah down to invite him as a surprise. Meeting Noah had to be completely discreet. I knew Liam would be upset if I meddled and failed, so I kept it a secret from everyone, even Emma and Sarah. I arranged to meet Noah at a small coffee shop across town. The first meeting was tense. Noah was angry about the past, but I sat there, looked him in the eye, and told him how much Liam loved him. I told him pride was not worth missing a milestone like this. It took several meetings over 3 months to break down Noah's walls. I would leave my office, take a cab, and spend an hour pleading my case. It was exhausting, but I loved Liam enough to fight for his family. During one of our last meetings, Noah finally cracked a smile and agreed. He promised he would be there at the church, sitting in the back, ready to surprise his brother. I was so consumed with relief that I let my guard down completely. After that final meeting, we walked out of the shop together. I was so grateful that I threw my arms around Noah in a tight, lingering hug. He hugged me back, thanking me for not giving up on him. What I did not know was that Sarah was in the area. She had taken a detour and saw us on the sidewalk. She did not know who Noah was, but she saw me intimately hugging a strange man just weeks before my wedding. Sarah never confronted me about what she saw. A true friend would have demanded an explanation, but Sarah did not want an explanation. She wanted a weapon. She took a photo of us hugging from across the street. For weeks, she held on to that picture, smiling at my bridal shower and toasting to my happiness, all while hiding a digital grenade in our pocket. The betrayal was brewing under my nose. The night of the rehearsal dinner, Sarah gave a speech. She stood up and said, "Chloe is a girl full of surprises. You never truly know everything she is capable of." Everyone laughed, thinking it was a quirky compliment, but Emma caught my eye from across the table. Emma whispered to me later, "There is something wrong with her energy. Watch your back tomorrow." I told Emma to stop worrying so much. The morning of the wedding was a whirlwind. Sarah was by my side, adjusting my veil. She looked at me in the mirror, her eyes dark. "You look beautiful, Chloe. This is going to be a day nobody will ever forget," she said softly. I hugged her, thanking her for being my rock. I had no idea she was actively planning the exact moment she would try to destroy my life. I walked out of that bridal suite feeling like the luckiest woman alive. The church doors opened, and my father walked me down the aisle. All I could see was Liam, tears brimming in his eyes. Sarah was standing at the front, holding my bouquet. As I took my place next to Liam, I felt a deep peace. The priest began his introduction, talking about trust, honesty, and the foundation of a strong marriage. It was beautiful, but it was also the absolute perfect psychological setup for her cruel trap. Just as the priest asked if anyone had any reason why we should not be wed, Sarah stepped forward. The entire church gasped. She did not look at me. She looked directly at Liam. "Liam, I cannot let you do this," she said, her voice echoing loudly. "You are a good man, and you deserve to know the truth before you tie your life to a lie." My heart stopped. I felt the blood drain from my face completely. She pulled her phone out, swiped the screen, and shoved it into Liam's face. "She has been seeing someone else behind your back. I caught them together outside a cafe a few weeks ago," Sarah announced to the front pews. The murmurs erupted instantly. I watched Liam's face pale as he looked at the screen. His hands started shaking. He looked from the phone to me, his eyes filled with absolute heartbreak and confusion. A million questions exploded in my head. Every happy memory with Sarah now felt like a toxic lie. A cold chill ran down my spine, born from pure, unadulterated humiliation. I looked at the phone. It was the picture of me hugging Noah. In that split second, I understood everything. I understood the competitive remarks, the subtle put-downs. She had waited for the most painful public moment to tear my world apart. "Sarah, what are you doing?" I choked out, tears breaking free. She looked at me with a triumphant smirk, dropping her mask. "I am saving him from you, Chloe. You are a cheater," she spat back. Emma rushed up from the front row, ready to physically pull Sarah away, but I held my hand up to stop her. I needed to handle this. I turned to Liam, whose eyes were still locked on the photo, trying to process the awful image. "Liam, please look at me," I pleaded, my voice trembling. He finally lifted his gaze. "You know I would never betray you. Look closely at the photo. Look at the man I'm hugging." Liam squinted at the screen. The man was wearing a baseball cap, his face partially obscured, but the broad shoulders were familiar. Recognition slowly dawned on Liam's face. His breathing hitched. "Is that—" he whispered in utter shock. Before I could say another word, heavy footsteps echoed from the back of the church. The oak doors creaked as a figure stepped forward from the shadows. "It is me, little brother," a deep voice called out. Everyone turned around. There, standing in a sharp navy suit, was Noah. He walked slowly down the center aisle, the guests parting. Liam let out a choked sob. The anger melted away, replaced by the shock of seeing his brother. Noah stopped a few feet from the altar, looking at Sarah with disgust before turning to Liam. "Chloe spent the last 3 months tracking me down, buying me terrible coffee, and refusing to leave me alone until I promised to come here. That hug was me thanking her for bringing my family back together," Noah explained emotionally. He walked up the steps and pulled Liam into a fierce embrace. The two brothers wept openly together. I turned slowly to look at Sarah. The triumphant smirk had vanished. She was pale, her hands trembling as she lowered her phone. The entire congregation was staring at her with angry, judgmental glares. She had tried to destroy my wedding, and instead she had given my husband the greatest gift of his life while exposing her own rotten soul. Emma stepped up to Sarah. "I told you she was dangerous," Emma said loudly for all to hear. Liam pulled away from his brother and wiped his eyes. He turned to Sarah, and I had never seen such cold fury in his gentle face. "Get out," he said quietly. Sarah stammered an excuse, claiming she genuinely thought I was cheating. "I said, get out of my church," Liam repeated, his voice booming. Sarah looked around, realizing she had 0 allies left. Even her own parents, sitting in the 3rd row, looked away in shame. Sarah dropped my bouquet on the floor, turned on her heel, and practically ran down the aisle. The silence as she left was heavy, filled with the collective judgment of 200 people who had just witnessed a masterclass in betrayal. I watched the heavy wooden doors close behind her, severing a 15-year friendship in an instant. A toxic weight had been lifted off my shoulders. The air felt easier to breathe. Once the doors closed, a collective breath was released. Noah took his seat next to Emma. Liam turned back to me, took my hands, and kissed my knuckles. "I am so sorry I doubted you for even a second," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "And thank you for giving me my brother back." I wiped his tears away and smiled. "I love you. Let's get married," I replied. The priest smiled warmly and resumed the ceremony. The rest of the day was magical. The reception was filled with a joyous energy. Noah gave a toast that made everyone cry, talking about forgiveness and the fierce love of a woman who refused to let a family stay broken. We danced until our feet hurt. Without Sarah's dark cloud hovering over me, I felt truly free. I realized that sometimes the universe removes people from your life dramatically to protect you from their poison. In the weeks that followed, the consequences for Sarah were brutal. Our mutual friends, having witnessed her cruel stunt, completely cut her off. Nobody wanted to associate with someone capable of such calculated malice. She lost her entire social circle overnight. I heard she eventually moved to another state, unable to bear the shame in our city. She tried to reach out to me with a rambling email, but I deleted it without reading past the first line. As for me, I learned a hard lesson about boundaries and trusting my gut. I should have listened to Emma from the beginning. We often ignore the red flags in people we love because we are terrified of losing the history we share. But history is never an excuse for abuse. Liam and I have been married for 3 years now. We have a beautiful home, and Noah comes over for Sunday dinners. My life is full of genuine love. Looking back, I realized that the worst moment of my life was actually a blessing in disguise. It forced the truth into the light and removed a toxic presence that would have slowly poisoned my marriage. Have you ever had a friend who secretly wanted to see you fail? And how did you break free from them? Would you have handled the situation at the altar the same way? Always trust those who truly support your happiness. Until the next story.